Tonight on CFTK-TV, a detox center is gaining massive support from local conservatives. Joe Biden's withdrawal from the presidential election creates speculation on international relations, and an update on the Fraser Valley fires.
Northwest BC's only television news team. We are CFTK-TV News.
Good evening, I'm Damian Smith. Thank you for tuning in. Just finishing up yesterday, the annual BC Summer Games came to a finish down in Maple Ridge. The Northwest region picked up 16 medals with 5 bronze, 6 silver, and 5 gold. Bronze medals were accomplished including 3 in wrestling, 1 in triathlon, and 1 in sailing. The silver saw success with 3 in wrestling, 1 in the 800-meter dash, and 2 in equestrian. And finally, the gold with 1 in triathlon, 2 in swimming, 1 in basketball, and 1 in the mixed 4x100-meter relay. With the October provincial election looming, we're starting to hear more from our electoral candidates. Conservative candidate for Skeena, Claire Rattay, recently shared her support for a detox treatment center in Terrace. CFTK's Jaylene Matthews caught up with Rattay.
Conservative candidate for Skeena, Claire Rattay, says the Northwest needs a detox.
Yeah, so the purpose behind me beginning this process now and advocating for a treatment facility in Terrace, I mean, there's hundreds of reasons we need one here. I think the most important and pressing is that we currently have the second highest rate of drug overdoses in BC. We're second only to the downtown east side as far as population is concerned, and the closest treatment facility right now is over 6 hours away. It's a huge barrier for anybody that is looking to get clean, anybody that needs those supports. I think it's an incredible oversight that we don't have a facility that's close by, and I think it's something that would be very well utilized and long overdue.
And you have like a personal experience with going to treatment. Did you go to detox?
I did, yeah. So when I was 18, I went to a detox facility and then to a treatment facility in the Lower Mainland. I do have a history with addiction, and I actually turned 19 while I was in that treatment facility. And as I said in my press release, I'm not sure that I'd be where I am today if I didn't have that access. And it's something that's really bothered me since I've moved up here, and that was back in 2011, and there's still been, essentially no action on it, is that we don't have access to any sort of facilities up here. And at this point, with things getting as bad as they have in Terrace, it's long overdue and unacceptable that we don't have a facility here.
And the NDP's policy of sort of decriminalization, what's your opinion on that?
I think that it's been proven that it doesn't work. They've admitted themselves that when they're, looking at providing free drugs to people, they have no control over what happens with those drugs after they've left that facility, wherever it is that it's being sold or distributed. And we're hearing stories constantly about those drugs ending up in the hands of dealers and young children being given these drugs that are supposed to be part of the Safe Supply program. It's proven itself to be a very ineffective program. And I think that we need to start prioritizing harm prevention, not just harm reduction.
What does that mean, harm prevention?
It means rather than just providing free drugs to people and, safe injection sites and things of that nature, we need to also be providing the supports of treatment facilities, detox facilities, counseling, mental health supports, ways to prevent people from using drugs in the first place or to get them clean and to help them stay clean, not just making it more accessible and easier to access.
For CFTK-TV News in Terrace, I'm Jaylene Matthews.
Coming up soon is the 7th edition of the Skeena Salmon Art Festival, which will have its grand opening at the Terrace Art Gallery on August 2nd at 7 p.m. The opening will last until 9 o'clock at night, and the festival will contain the work of about 95 artists in total, but around 30 of those artists will be chosen a panel and will get their work taken to Bella Coola as part of a collaboration with the Bella Coola Valley Arts Council. The stated goal of the festival is to celebrate local talent and creativity while including a diverse amount of art styles and artists coming from a variety of backgrounds. A pair of big announcements have come from the regional district of Bulkley-Nechako not long ago due to some recent fires. An evacuation order was put out for the area east of Moose Lake and south of Malaput FSR due to an out-of-control fire at Laidman Lake at over 1,400 hectares. The regional district also put out an evacuation alert for south of Stewart Lake and west of the Stewart River area due to the Pitka Creek wildfire. Though it is not as big as the Laidman Lake fire at 147 hectares, which was discovered this Friday, it was still enough for a potential threat for an evacuation alert. Coming up next, a historical move from Joe Biden over the weekend creates speculation on Canada and U.S. relations. Well, the international news of the weekend saw current U.S. President Joe Biden drop out of the 2024 presidential election, with many shocked and with many expecting this outcome. Here's ABC News with an update.
In an unprecedented and historic move, President Biden drops out of the 2024 race for the White House. It comes after his highly criticized debate 3 weeks ago, which sparked relentless pressure from his own Democratic Party to abandon his re-election bid. In a letter addressed to my fellow Americans, the president writing, "It has been the greatest honor of my life to serve as your president. I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country to focus solely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of my term."
This was a very difficult decision, and one that I think reflects the very best of who Joe Biden is.
President Biden throwing his support behind Vice President Kamala Harris, who had taken the lead on fighting for women's reproductive rights.
Do we believe in the promise of America? And are we ready to fight for it?
Harris saying, "I am honored to have the president's endorsement, and my intention is to earn and win this nomination." We're told she spent much of Sunday calling party leaders and others shoring up support. Leading Democrats, including California Governor Gavin Newsom, red state moderates like Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear, and prominent progressives in Congress like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, all backing Harris.
Kamala Harris, as our Democratic presidential nominee, is going to bring an X factor.
Tens of thousands of other African-American women, from business to politics to Hollywood, joined a Zoom call, raising over $1 million in just 3 hours in support of the first Black and Indian American woman sitting vice president, who is now running to succeed President Biden. Former President Trump attacking Biden's legacy, saying he was not fit to run for president and never was, while also quickly shifting his attacks to Harris.
And with that, the Canadian government will have to adjust to this plan for the long term. The cross-border relationship will have to prepare for Donald Trump or Kamala Harris as their ally. Here's Jeremy Charon in Ottawa.
It's Canada's most important friendship, but tonight, new questions about the face of it. In a statement, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau thanked Biden, calling him a great man guided by love for his country, a partner to Canadians, and a true friend.
We are lucky on the world stage to have Joe Biden leading here at NATO.
Trudeau had that to say just over a week ago in Washington when asked about the president. For more than 50 years, President Joe Biden has literally defined public service, said U.S. Ambassador to Canada David Cohen. I have been proud to say that I serve the United States and represent my friend, President Biden, in Canada. Canada's ambassador to the U.S., Kristen Hillman, called Biden an experienced, thoughtful, and dedicated leader.
I do have a moment of sadness here for him, and yet at the same time, a lot of excitement for our country and the path ahead.
But it's a path that isn't yet paved, with a race to the White House that just took yet another turn.
For Canada, when we think about our relationship with the United States, we have to ask, how's this going to unfold?
We are two countries with close ties, but now Canada faces new unknowns about who will occupy the White House next and what it could mean for key partnerships.
We're still coming into a CUSMA, NAFTA, USMCA review, and that could be very precarious for Canada. That could really destabilize the fundamentals of our trading and investment system.
The race to the White House tonight is more complicated for Canada. The only thing we know for sure is it won't be President Biden answering Canada's calls come November.
Turning to tonight's forecast, on the coast you will see mainly cloudy conditions with a 30% chance of showers this evening, and there should be a few showers around midnight. There will be a low of 12 degrees. In the Terrace-Kitimat area, it should be mainly cloudy. A 30% chance of showers during the evening will turn to 70% after midnight, and there will be some winds south at 30 kilometers per hour, gusting to 50 and a low of 11 degrees. In the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District, it should be a cloudy day with a 60% chance of showers this evening, followed by some clouds after midnight. There is a risk of thunderstorms this evening, and after midnight it will be chilly with a low of 7 degrees. Now on to this week's forecast. The coast should see showers and maybe thunderstorms tomorrow, followed by a couple days of sun, and then the rain will come back on Friday and follow suit into the weekend. A high of 18 will be on Friday and a low of 11 will be on Wednesday night. The Terrace-Kitimat area will drop off after a hot past couple of weeks. Maybe some thunderstorms tomorrow and some showers on Wednesday, followed by 2 days of sunny conditions and back to probable showers on the weekend. A high of 21 will be on Thursday and a low of 10 will be tomorrow night. The Bulkley Valley and Lakes District will also cool off with some chances of thunderstorms and showers tomorrow, showers on Wednesday and Thursday, then back to sunny days on the cusp of the weekend. A high of 25 will be on Saturday and a low of 7 will be tomorrow night. Now on to your Northwest roadside report. Highway 16 has limited visibility with smoke between Dome Creek and Lamco Road. It also has paving operations in Houston until 7:30 tonight. Utility work between Galliano and Chowsunket Road as well. Starting tomorrow morning, there will be bridge maintenance between Chimdamish Loop and West Binwall until the end of the week. Highway 37A has bridge maintenance between Surprise Bridge and Miziadin Maintenance Yard until tomorrow after 5 p.m. Now let's take a look at our cams from around the Northwest region. Still to come, fires are scorching the Fraser Valley during BC's heat wave. Hundreds of firefighters are battling scorching flames in BC's Fraser Valley as the province continues to put out flames no matter what the area the wildfires may be in. Here's Penny Daflos from CTV News in Vancouver.
Smoke-choked skies hang over the Fraser Canyon as the aggressive Shetland Creek wildfire resists efforts to tame it.
It's been very stressful. This is our third major fire since 2017, the third time the village has gone on alert.
The communities of Ashcross, Spence's Bridge and Cache Creek are preparing to evacuate, watching to see just where the 150 square kilometer blaze could shift next.
We're geared up and we're actively just getting everything secured and ready for this fight, if it should come our way.
Ranchers are taking advantage of calm weather to move hundreds of cattle to safety. They can't plan too far ahead given how quickly things are changing.
A lot of different variables, a lot of different factors involved.
Fire did roughly an 8.5 kilometer run north.
There are now more than 120 firefighters, plus heavy equipment operators and 10 helicopters battling the Shetland Creek blaze. But there are hundreds more now burning across BC following weeks of high heat drying out our forests.
It's easy to look at that 324 fires and be overwhelmed, but we have had good initial attack success. In the last 7 days, we've declared 182 wildfires out.
They're doing a magnificent job. I'm very thankful for them.
Mother Nature continues to work against them. Hot, dry conditions are forecast to continue with even more lightning expected.
Over the last 3 days, we've had a lot of lightning, and that has again landed in those really dry forest fuels.
The next 24 to 48 hours are really going to be the critical point for this region.
Plans are now unfolding for a new camp for firefighters to stay there long term as the Fraser Canyon becomes the site of what may be a months-long battle to preserve homes and livelihoods. Penny Daflos, CTV News, Vancouver.
Canadians are now having to strategically buy their groceries in order to maximize their value of food bought. Americans are also having to do the same in an alternate method called bulk sharing. Here's Elizabeth Schultz from ABC News.
banding together to buy in bulk. At big box stores like Costco and Sam's Club, families are joining forces, splitting up bulk grocery purchases to save on their spending. Marissa Verna splits bulk items in her grocery cart with her sister Jill.
I don't need 40 bags of this toddler snack. Like, do you want to go halves on it? And I'll just send over 20 bags for you and I'll keep 20 bags and vice versa.
For Christy Davies' family of 5 in New Jersey, it's a strategy that's helped reduce food costs by nearly $75 every week.
When I buy in bulk, sometimes it's too much. So I'll share it with Christy.
Christy coordinates bulk grocery runs with her mom, Janet. They split the bill and then divvy up food like cantaloupe and bananas.
In my mind, I'm like, is this something that I can wait and we can get at Sam's Club? Because I'd rather not spend that price from the grocery store if I can help it.
New government data shows grocery prices are stabilizing after rapid increases the past 3 years. But the typical family is still spending about 11% of its disposable income on food, the highest level in 3 decades. But experts warn shoppers shouldn't always assume that buying in bulk is cheaper.
If your group are the type that would go and buy very expensive pre-wrapped charcuterie boards or pre-cut vegetables, and then you try to split that up, the price that you are actually saving isn't that much relative to you just going and purchasing the vegetables or the meat on your own.
The software bug that knocked out millions of computers across the globe this Friday is still having adverse effects everywhere, including here in Canada. While the company behind the software crash says it has found a solution, industries are still working on recovering. Camille Karamali has the latest.
The world slowly coming back online after a bug in a software update grounded airlines, with many still stranded today.
But now we canceled everything because you can't even rent cars.
Hospitals, banks, and broadcasters impacted. For many here, one thing became abundantly clear. Canada's response wasn't good enough.
I would score it very poorly, like let's say a 3 out of 10.
Although the outage was related to faulty software, cyber experts look at this as a test run in preparing for a cyber attack. And Canada failed.
Canada is not prepared. There's a lot of work that needs to be done.
Now looking to other nations that are better prepared.
The European Union has its Cyber Resilience Act, which holds companies accountable for making sure they're doing everything they can to keep themselves and their stakeholders safe.
While Australia has a Minister of Cybersecurity responsible for tackling issues like the global outage on Friday.
Well, having a cyber czar or the one point of contact makes sense.
The country even has a cybersecurity strategy until 2030 that commits funding and other resources for the next few years towards threats related to the cyber world.
Whereas in Canada, we did introduce a national cybersecurity strategy earlier this year, but there's very little budget, there's no timeline.
Now pushing for Canada to type up a strategy with more teeth.
What I'd like to see is more grants, more resources being given to small to mid-sized businesses to prepare them for what is the inevitable.
The federal government says it's working on a revamp of its current cybersecurity strategy, including a new bill which would make it mandatory for companies to have a cybersecurity plan in place. That bill is currently before the Senate.
Now we turn our attention to the stock market. The Canadian dollar is down 0.15 of a cent. The price of gold is down $8.70. Oil is down 24 cents. Natural gas is up 10 cents and aluminum is down 33.5. In Toronto, the TSX is up 182.26. The Venture Index is up 1.96. In New York, the Dow Jones is up 127.91 and NASDAQ is up 280.63. Still ahead, a hometown return is underway as a BC Lion player plays for his childhood team. Drafted in 2015, BC Lion defensive tackle Christian Covington came home to Vancouver where he grew up playing football. After 8 seasons in the NFL, it's a hometown reunion for the 30-year-old. Here's Ben Milger from CTV.
Covington
gets his first. As a teenager, Christian Covington cheered from the stands at BC Place. These days, he's on the receiving end of those ovations.
There's just a point in my life where I knew that eventually the journey would bring me back home.
After a successful collegiate career at Houston's Rice University, Covington spent 9 seasons chasing down ball carriers in the National Football League. Trying to bounce it outside, he's smothered. Covington leading the charge. Last spring, he approached the BC Lions about a return to the Lower Mainland. The Lions were more than happy to offer the 30-year-old a contract, knowing his veteran presence would be felt on the field and in the locker room.
It's huge to get somebody like that with that type of upside. Still has a lot of football left in him, and I think it's starting to now show a little bit more now in these last few weeks about, who he could be futuristically for this ball club.
As a grade 12 at Vancouver College, Covington won a BC high school championship on the Lions field.
It meant that much more to me because I had my dad by my side, as my defensive line coach. And it was also, VC's first championship in many, many years.
To call Covington's father a retired football player would be an understatement. Grover Covington is a CFL Hall of Famer and holds the career record for quarterback sacks with 157. He's also a Grey Cup champion, something his son would desperately like to add to his own resume when BC hosts the championship game in November. What would it mean for you in your career to win the Grey Cup?
Oh man, I've been able to win a ring at every single level of my career except professional. So I want to do whatever it takes to be able to get, hoist that cup at the end of the day. I'm gonna do whatever it takes. If he and the Lions can do that on home turf this season, it will be a full circle moment for the hometown hero. Ben Milger, CTV News, Vancouver.
Years ago, a young couple was separated through a civil war in Guatemala. With no connection for decades, they made their way back to each other somehow. I guess love finds a way. Here's CTV's Adam Sawatsky.
Gabrielle Melendez will never forget the day she met Jaime Cuadra.
Gorgeous green eyes and dark hair, and there I was with my braces, all skinny, and
She was 13, he was 15, and the feeling felt unprecedented.
Like an arrow hit both of us. Like it was like boom.
While they were inseparable after that, she says, the civil war in Nicaragua threatened to tear them apart.
14, 15-year-old boy or girl, they'll grab you and throw you in the back of a Jeep and take you up to the mountains to fight.
While Gabriella's family made secret plans to escape the country, Jaime's family couldn't afford to flee. The last day they saw each other, he gave her this photo.
And he wrote in the back, to Gabriela from a boy that loves her so much.
And leaving that love, Gabriella says, felt like half her body was being ripped away.
I knew he was gonna die, for sure.
During the following decades, Gabriella and her family moved safely to Canada. She started a successful dog grooming business, but she always felt something was missing.
And I was never gonna find love again or feel love again.
But then, while Gabriella was searching online, she happened upon a photo of an unfamiliar man with an unmistakable look in his eye.
That's him. You're alive. You're there. You're here. I don't know. You're on Earth.
And after a couple years of reconnecting online, Gabriella returned to Nicaragua, and they met in person for the first time in 32 years.
I was like bawling and kissing him, and ay, 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 caramba.
And although Jaime can't speak English,
fue la primera vez después de tantos años.
No translation is needed to see how meaningful it felt after enduring the trauma of war and poverty to finally have his prayers of being reunited with his love answered.
And he says he could only think of my smile to keep him alive.
Well, his love, Gabriella says, has brought her back to life.
Just give your heart, and love will come back to you.
And now, husband and wife, the couple are filled with gratitude that their first love turned out to be their forever love. Adam Sawatsky, CTV News, Souk.
Well, that's all on news for now. I'm Damian Smith, and you're watching CFTK-TV. Thanks for tuning in.